Mars is finally moving into the sign of Leo after many months in Cancer. Mars has been back and forth in Cancer since September of 2024. Now it is making its exit for good, and Mars will be moving into Leo for the next 2 months. Now, Mars was already in Leo from November 3rd to January 6th, and it went up to 6 degrees of Leo. So we're going to be traversing that again during the first several weeks of Mars being in Leo. So themes from back then could be coming back up, definitely. But before we move forward and talk about Mars and Leo, I do want to mention that I think it's really important to reflect upon what Mars in Cancer meant for us and where this was happening in your chart. I'll have my Mars in Cancer video linked down below if you need a refresh of where this was happening in your chart since September. But I think this is important to honor and reflect this because Jupiter is going to be moving into this part of our chart on June 9th, and it's going to be there for a year, and it's going to be really expanding upon the changes that we made in that part of our chart. So what we got rid of, because Mars likes to sever and cut, but also what we worked really hard on, because Mars is a hard worker and he's a warrior and he's a fighter and he likes courage. So before we just move forward into Mars and Leo, I'd like to just say maybe we can reflect upon how far we've come in the Cancer part of our chart and how much action we've taken and how much reflection we've done on action taken with the retrograde. But with that being said, let's talk about Mars in Leo. What is Mars? Well, Mars is the warrior. He is the planet that rules assertion, will, action, aggression, anger sometimes as well. He likes to sever and cut things, like I mentioned, and he values independence, freedom, autonomy, courage. And Leo is the temple of the king, right? This is the sun. He is a leader and he is fiery as well. So there is quite a masculine energetics going on here, which is very different than Cancer. Leo is the king. There is honor and pride associated with this placement as well. And it's also a lot of creativity here. So they want to shine, but they also want to be appreciated for what they offer and their generosity. Leo is also the sign of the self in a sense of self-expression. And so this is why Mars and Leo people can make great performers, because they like the drama quite honestly. And so there can be a little bit of drama going on with Mars and Leo. But ultimately, when Mars moves into the temple of the sun, there is this assertion and willpower, but it comes with staying power because Leo is a fixed sign. And because it's ruled by the sun, there is a sense of honor and pride. And so they don't jump into things irrationally, generally, because they recognize that whatever they put their action towards, they're gonna work hard towards that for a longer period of time. So especially when Mars first moves into Leo and just very shortly after, the sun, which is the ruler of Leo, is going to be in Taurus. We're going to have the sun in fixed, steady, reliable Taurus, and then Mars in Leo squaring it at some point, but also in a fixed, steady sign. There may be a desire for growth, but maybe some of us, I feel like a lot of us, what we're taking action on with this Mars and Leo, it's definitely not new, right? Because we've been here before from November 3rd to January 6th when Mars was in Leo. So, for a lot of us, when Mars is in Leo, we could be starting something new. We're going to talk about this in the all signs and where this could be happening in your life. But if it's not something that we're really sure about, we might wait till the sun is in Gemini when there's a lighter energy and we're feeling a little bit lighter about it. Because with the two fixed signs, there can be a sense of like, are we committing to this? Is this what we're doing? I'm not really sure. And this like reticence to actually move forward with something, knowing that you're not completely sure about it yet. But if you are completely sure, it's a beautiful and stable time to get started on moving towards something. I'm going to make a separate video about this because it's an important transit, but Mars will immediately start its opposition to Pluto in Aquarius when it moves into Leo. And the opposition is going to be exact on April 26th. So we're moving towards this sort of possible conflict, whether that's internal or external, but it's very powerful. There's an intensity here because that's what Pluto does. And the opposition can be a more tense aspect, and it can often relate to other people. So I'm going to mention this a little bit in the all signs, but like I said, I really think it deserves its own video because it's very powerful and it can be used as an impetus for us to move forward in an area of our lives that we've been probably dealing with, wanting to move forward with since actually around like May 2023. So we're going to talk about that more in that video, but I wanted to bring this up in case you start feeling that Mars-Pluto opposition almost immediately as it moves into the sign of Leo. So, honestly, I don't have a lot else to say about Mars and Leo. We're going to go into the all signs. And since Mars is going to be in Leo for 2 months, I'm sure it'll get brought up again. New insights will come. But let's see where Mars is moving into again with the sign of Leo. And once again, not take for granted what we learned with Mars in Cancer. I'll see you guys in the all signs. For my Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Mars rules your first and your 8th house and it's moving into your 5th house. Now, Mars being in Cancer for so long has probably felt pretty uncomfortable for most of you guys because the energy of Cancer is quite different than your guys' energy. It's much slower, there's a lot of emotions, there's delving into the past and reflection rather than moving forward. But I think that this has served a really great purpose for you guys in order to clear up any of these 4th house things before they get amplified by Jupiter, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, in June for a year. As it moves into your 5th house, you're now getting a surge of energy again because this house is a fiery house and you're a fiery sign. So this is trine your sign. And so it's giving ease now versus before when it was squaring your sign and he was in his fall. So now we're entering this domain of the 5th house, which is pleasure, creativity, joy, entertainment, love, romance, dating, having a childlike spirit. This is also the house of children and, gambling, things like this. It's definitely more of a, it's not technically a social house. It's actually a dharmic house because it has to do with your self-expression, but it's a lot more social than the 4th house can feel. So it's definitely a different energy. And this could be something like you're getting your creative juices flowing again. Whether or not you're in a relationship, there is a desire to date and have romance back in your life, pleasure, joy, entertainment, having fun, self-expression. And for the first few weeks of this too, it could be reminiscing back to November 3rd to January 6th of last year, bringing something up that may need to be seen again or dealt with. But ultimately until June 17th, there's going to be a lot more desire to play and have fun than probably previously. But I also see that this Mars in Cancer kind of had to happen for you guys in order for you to step into this new sense of self-expression. Now, Mars will be opposing Pluto. We're going to be talking about that in a separate video, but that's going to be happening in your 5th and 11th house axis. So make sure you guys are subscribed in order to get that video coming out soon. Now, Mars also rules your 8th house. So anytime Mars moves into a certain place in your chart, there is a sense that shared financial resources could be going through a change. So maybe you're putting more finances towards your creativity or love, romance, self-expression. The 8th house is also a house of transformation. So this means that something is transforming on a deep level for you guys. Psychological healing around creativity and self-expression could happen with Mars and Leo as well. So Aries, let me know how that resonates. I'll see you guys next time. Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Mars rules your guys' 12th and 7th house, and he's moving into your guys' 4th house. Now, I have a video on Mars and Cancer that's kind of goes more in depth about what that Mars and Cancer transit has been for the last several months. But really, it's been in your 3rd house, right? So the 3rd house is immediate surroundings, your thoughts, communication, words, short trips, day-to-day things that you do, neighbors, siblings, cousins, learning, skill sets. So Mars could be either have had you working really hard towards these things or severing things. So changes could have been happening in your immediate surroundings, cutting certain things away, cutting certain people away, things like that. And now he's moving into your 4th house. And for you guys, because he rules your 12th and your 7th, there's always something to do around healing and possibly relationships when Mars moves into a new sign. So what is the 4th house that Mars is moving into in the sign of Leo? Well, the 4th house is the deepest part of our chart. It's our emotional foundations, it's our family, it's our home life, it's our actual physical home, but it's also our internal home. This is an area of ancestral trauma, early childhood trauma as well. And so when Mars goes here, it's kind of doing a deep dive into our emotional depths and into the past. And for you guys, this may have something to do around something that's some sort of healing or something that is coming to an end. So some sort of closure and or something to do with relationships and how you relate to other people. There's a need to reflect on these things when Mars is in Leo. And this Mars-Pluto opposition that I'll do a video about later is happening between the 4th and the 10th. So this is really, to me, showing that there is this big connection right now between your internal private home life and the external world, the public world, your reputation, your career. And so Mars here is trying to almost tidy things up and get things in order, but it's gonna feel a little like you're diving kind of deep. It's not gonna feel quite as expressive, right? Because the 4th house is such a watery house that this time is really like a time for you guys to go inward. And you might find that, especially for the first several weeks, there are remnants of things that were happening from November 3rd to January 6th coming back up to be taken action upon, maybe in a new way, maybe to sever something completely, or maybe just it comes up to be seen from a different perspective because now you've had Mars in your 3rd house, you know, changing your thoughts and your immediate surroundings. So this is, to you guys, I think, kind of a diving deep into the depth of you and your past and your childhood trauma or changes that you're making, right? Because Mars is willpower. So you're making changes in your internal world and in your home. You could actually be moving things around in your home, people could be moving in, people could be moving out, things like that. But ultimately, this will empower you because after that, Mars is gonna go into your 5th house of creativity. And so you kind of need this like downtime, this time to go inward and dive deep in order to close something out before moving forward. So Taurus, let me know how that resonates. I'll see you guys next time. Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Mars rules your guys' 11th house and 6th house, and he's moving into your 3rd house. Well, Mars has been in your 2nd house on and off since September of last year, and Jupiter is going to be going here in June. So Mars has been doing one of two things. It's either been having you, and probably more than these two, but two main things. Severing certain aspects. So maybe you're letting go of a certain job, maybe you're letting go of certain values, and or you are working really hard on a set of values or a job. And specifically with the 2nd house, it tends to be business. So when Jupiter comes here, if you've been working really hard towards this, Jupiter's going to expand your money, right? The 2nd house is an area of money. And we'll talk about all this later, right? So what do you have to know about Mars moving from your 2nd to your 3rd? Well, when Mars moves into your 3rd, the 3rd house is about your immediate surroundings. It's about your neighbors, siblings, cousins. It's about your communications, thoughts, words, your mind, skills, learning. And so a lot of times when Mars goes here, especially with Geminis, we have to be careful around speech and our thoughts because it can kind of amp those things up and there can be more assertion there, which doesn't have to be a bad thing unless it turns into, let's say, aggression. Right? And Geminis, we have a quick tongue, right? So sometimes we got to make sure that we are being mindful about the things that we're saying. But because it rules your 11th and your 6th house and it's moving into your 3rd house, it often makes me feel like there are changes to your routines that are happening, your day-to-day routines. Maybe you're wanting to start some new daily routine and change up your responsibilities. Maybe there's some changes happening with your work environment because you are, you're just changing things around. When Mars goes into 3rd, we take action to change our immediate surroundings and all those 3rd house things. It can also kind of really amp up your desire to learn. So maybe you're going to be learning new skills, going back to school, learning or taking a course somewhere or taking a class somewhere. And because it rules your 11th as well, I could see this being like you're taking a class and it's inviting you into a new community because of the 11th house. But also with the 6th house, like this is a conflict house. So it going into your 3rd, once again, is why I'm saying like, be mindful of your words, be mindful of your thoughts, because that's where it all begins before it comes out. It is also regarding work too. So your 6th house Lord is moving into your 3rd house. So there could be some changes happening around if it's not, if it's not around your daily responsibilities, it could be some changes happening with job or work environment or your health. Maybe that's a routine that you're wanting to move towards, is being healthier and doing certain things throughout your day that promote being healthy, whatever that means to you, meditating, walking, eating a certain way. Mars and Pluto will be opposing from your 3rd and your 9th house. I'll have a video about that coming out soon, but just being aware that this momentary, by momentary I mean 2 month, emphasis on your 3rd house is going to be highlighting something much bigger for you guys actually in the 9th house. So we'll definitely talk about that later. But for now, I want to know, what do you guys plan on doing with Mars in your 3rd? What's coming up for you guys that was possibly coming up from November 3rd to January 6th that could be coming back up again for you to take action on in a new way, or to get rid of, or just to simply see it and move forward with it. Let me know down in the comments below. I'll see you guys next time.
Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Mars has been in your sign a lot since September of last year. You have probably felt it. I've heard from most Cancers, especially Cancer, Sun, Rising, but even Moon, that you guys have felt it in different ways. This assertiveness of Mars and having and keeping boundaries, and maybe even being more open to conflict than you would normally be. That's something that has been definitely coming up for a lot of Cancers. And now Mars is moving into your guys' 2nd house. Now the 2nd house is about your values, your income, how you spend money, how you make money, your self-worth and your self-esteem, your resources. So Mars going here is going to take everything that you've learned with Mars going back and forth in your 1st and 2nd house, because it's been here before, from November 3rd to January 6th. So just keep in mind themes around money, finances, resources, values, self-worth, self-esteem may be coming back up from that period of time as well, especially for the first couple of weeks with Mars moving into Leo and retracing those steps. But it's going to be you taking this newfound identity and this newfound boundaries that you have around who you are and putting it to use towards either making money in some way and income, or putting it towards increasing your level of self-esteem. Now, the interesting thing is Mars rules your 10th and your 5th house. So because of this, you bring 10th house themes and 5th house themes into your 2nd house, meaning that you could be trying to make money from creativity, creative endeavors. This could also mean that you are really thinking about your long-term goals and how you can make money from those things. So your 10th house things, your career, your public status, your reputation, now it's coming into the forefront of like, how do I gain resources from what I actually want to do in this world, what I want to be of service to in this world. Now, Mars is also going to move into an opposition with Pluto almost immediately. So it's not going to be exact until April 26th, but you're going to start feeling it almost immediately. And Pluto is sitting in your guys' 8th house. So once again, this to me feels like there's definitely some financial stuff going on, but also Pluto being in the 8th house opposing this. And don't worry, I'm going to make a video all about this opposition because it's important. But Pluto sitting in the 8th house could be like challenging you with this newfound self-esteem and self-worth to say, okay, now how do we integrate that into emotional bonds and deep partnerships and intimacy? Because now you've created this like new identity and you're integrating it, like I said, into your 2nd house things. But it could also be financial, as if you're, thinking about, okay, how do I make money versus how do other people make money, and how do I use my finances versus other people's finances in order to get what I need to do done. Mars in the second house can be like very business oriented because Mars wants independence. So a lot of you guys may be desiring to like have a side hustle or, you know, start a business around this time and work hard toward securing some sort of financial stability through that, because you're wanting more autonomy in your financial situation. Ultimately, I feel as though what's going to be really prominent for you guys are more earthly themes, but also, like I said, that fifth house, creativity, joy, romance, pleasure, entertainment are going to come up in some ways too. So, like I said, for a lot of Cancers, I feel like a side hustle of some sort of creative hobby or a business with creative hobby or something like that could very well be likely, but obviously that's not going to happen for everybody. More so, I just see the themes of work, career, and money and reputation and legacy, not just your job, but like the legacy you want to leave in the world coming up to the forefront, and you working hard in order to establish some sort of financial and inner emotional security. So Cancers, let me know how this resonates for you guys. I'll see you next time.
Leo, sun, moon, and rising. Mars rules your guys' 9th and 4th house, and he's moving into your 1st house. So of course, Leos, after having Mars in the 12th for 8-9 months, it's been a trip, and it has definitely forced us to kind of go into the background. It has forced us to rest. It has forced us to heal, to dive into spirituality, meditation, all these things, and definitely reflect on this time, reflecting on our dreams. You may have had sleep issues during this time. We've been contemplating a lot of very spiritual matters, existential matters possibly. And now Mars is going into our sign again, giving us that little oomph that we had for a couple of months last year from November 3rd to January 6th, and allowing us to really move forward with something. And what are we moving forward with? Well, the 1st house is our attitude, it's our appearance, it's our health, it's our body, it's our identity and our approach to life. New beginnings happen here. So it really could be anything. But because Mars rules your 9th and your 4th house, there could be changes happening in your home life. Or I could see the 4th house Lord going into the 1st house being something like you're deciding to open up more emotionally to the people around you. You're showing your emotions more to the people around you. And even with your 9th house moving into your 1st, like this is an amazing position for you to go back to school. It's an amazing position for you to start getting mentorship, and for you to become a mentor, for you to become a teacher, because the 9th house is about teaching. Or if you're wanting to publish something, this is a great time to work towards publishing something as well while we have this Martian energy happening in our sign now, because it is in Leo. If you are a Leo sun, moon, rising, watching out for too much Martian energy, right? Aggression, anger, these are things that can kind of brew up with Mars and Leo and then explode. So just being aware of that. But I think that this is going to be very, very welcome for Leos, because having Mars in the 12th house in Cancer has definitely been a time of quieting and rest. Even, like for me, it's like if you're not resting, we could have gotten ill, because the energy has really just wanted us to pull back, but not anymore. So now, interestingly, I'll make a video about this more in depth, but Pluto will be opposing this Mars almost immediately in from your 7th house of other people. So this is you showing up in the way that you want to show up, possibly with some contention or conflict from others, or your own fear of those conflicts from others. Regardless, we'll deal with that. As of right now, just know that the next 2 months, starting April 18th, are gonna be very highlighted around you taking action, you taking leadership positions, and showing more of who you are, bringing more of those 4th house elements, your emotional foundations, up into the surface, however that feels fit. So if that means that you're going to be moving forward, not showing yourself because that's what you used to do, or vice versa, it's going to be changing, is all I'm saying, because of what we've reflected upon over the last several months with Mars in our 12th house. So Leos, let me know how this resonates. I'll see you guys next time. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising. Well, Mars rules your guys' 8th house and 3rd house, and it's moving into your 12th house. Now, this is going to bring a time of solitude, of healing, of meditation, closures, grief. This is a moksha house, so there is great liberation, but oftentimes it comes through a sense of loss or having to heal from something. So when Mars goes in the 12th, sleep can become more difficult sometimes. Our dream life can become more active. We can get into more spiritual practices as well. Also, Mars going into 12th can also be, I had Mars in the 12th on and off recently since last September, and I've done 2 week-long silent meditation retreats, so something like that. But you could also just be traveling overseas more during this time, because the 12th house is overseas travel too. The important thing with Mars in the 12th is that the energy is wanting to rest. It's wanting quiet and solitude. And so if we are not actively doing that, we may find ourselves in situations in which we are kind of pushed into rest. And so make sure that you're taking a lot of time out to take care of yourself and to rest and release anything that needs to be released. Now, Mars has been in your guys' 11th house for a really long time, right? And I have a video about Mars in Cancer if you guys want something more in depth about that. But reflecting upon Mars going through the 11th may have had you working really hard towards your future hopes and visions, towards, figuring out the right friend groups for you, the right communities and clubs for you. And maybe that meant severing or getting rid of certain groups of people in your life that you realize were not benefactors anymore. Maybe getting rid of social networks, or trying really hard to maintain certain social networks. Now, Jupiter is going to come here. We're going to talk about that definitely and expand upon this starting June for a year. And so that's going to really bring some positivity and expansion in that part of your chart. But for now, Mars moving into 12th, like I said, is definitely a time of moving inward. Because Mars rules your 8th and your 3rd house, this time is going to be this moving inward is going to be very, very transformational for you in a very deep way. Now, it could be pertaining to anything, because the 8th house ruler is psychological healing of all sorts. But the 8th house is also shared finances and intimacy as well. So for those of Virgos who are involved in a business partnership or a romantic partnership, a deep committed partnership, this could be a time where your intimacy and or your shared resources are going through a sort of dissolution, and they need to have this sort of like rebirth when Mars goes into your guys' sign. So it may be feeling like that's changing. You may be feeling like there is your 3rd house ruler going into the 12th can often feel like your immediate surroundings, there is some level of healing that needs to happen because of things happening in your immediate surroundings. And it could also just mean that you're desiring to be in solitude a lot more, because the 3rd house is your immediate surroundings. Going into the 12th house makes it very spiritual. So this could also be like you're learning more spiritual skills, you're practicing more spiritual things. It's just telling me once again that you're really desiring to immerse yourself in the 12th house matters, in the unknown. I wouldn't say Virgos love doing this, but it can also be a great time for service. If you are somebody who likes to give to others or be of service to others, Mars going into your 12th house is a really great time for that. Meaning doing volunteer work or being of service, being charitable and donating money, things like that are going to be helpful for you as well. Also, we're going to do a whole video on this, but Pluto will be opposing this from your 6th house. So this is the health and healing axis right here. And also has to do with work. So I'm really excited to talk about that. Also keep in mind that for the first several weeks, there may be something that comes up that came up already from around November 3rd to January 6th that may come up for you to take action upon. Maybe you want to take action, but then you have to pull back. Well, now it's kind of giving you an opportunity to move towards that again, or maybe you need to change course from something that was started back then. But keep in mind that something from then could be coming up. Let me know how that resonates for you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Mars rules over your guys' 7th house and your 2nd house, and he's moving into your 11th house. Mars has been in Cancer, in your career house, in your legacy house, your house of reputation, for many, many months, since September of last year on and off. And so there's a couple of things that Mars could be doing, a few things, and I've talked about this in my Mars in Cancer video, but more in depth. But really what I'm thinking is like Mars has been severing certain things and also been making you work really hard on certain things. So it could be and or, depending on what you're doing. So you could be letting go of a career. You could be letting go of a work situation. A boss could be leaving, or this could have been happening recently. And or you could have been working really hard on a new project, on a new career. Regardless, Jupiter is going to come in here and amplify this part of your chart for a year starting in June. Of course, we'll talk about that. But take some time to, especially for you guys, because it's been in your 10th house, which is the angular house, take some time to really review and reflect upon what changes you've made with Mars in the 10th house before just moving forward into Mars in Leo, because Mars moving into Leo is going to be easier for you guys. It's a sextile to your sign and it's going into your 11th house. Well, your 11th house is friends, groups, communities. This could be online communities as well, technology, hopes and wishes for the future. This is money earned from the 10th house as well. So there could be more of an impetus to start gaining resources and finances from whatever you've been working towards with Mars in the 10th house. And when Mars goes into 11th, we kind of want to take action on finding our people, finding the benefactors that we're going to have in our lives, and maybe creating new hopes and wishes and a new vision for the future. And because you guys have Mars ruling your 7th and your 2nd, I really do think that for a lot of you guys, this has to do with money, because your 7th house ruler is moving into your 11th. And your 7th house ruler will also could be contracts that need to be reevaluated, or it could be that the way that you relate to other people is going to become really important with the Mars moving into your 11th house. So this could look like you're having to change the way that you relate to other people in order to find the right groups for you. And this is important because you guys are ruled by the 7th house, right? So other people are very important for you. But then, like I said, the 2nd house moving to the 11th, it's like, well, also you may be looking for communities that will help pay you. So let's say you want to get a new job and you're like, okay, well, I need to start posting on Instagram, or I'm finding a local group in which I can advertise things, where I can advertise my business to, or this new thing that I want to do, this new venture that I want to go on. And or it could be that you're spending money towards online communities, towards finding the right people, towards benefactors for you, towards getting the new social networks that you're going to need moving forward. Because I keep saying this for Libras, but definitely a lot of you guys are moving into a new work experience, whether that's a new career or a new job or just a new experience in the workplace. It's definitely wanting to happen. Now, I'm going to do a whole video on Mars opposite Pluto. That is going to be happening about a week after, exactly, a week after Mars moves into this part of your chart, but you're going to feel it immediately, actually. And that's going to be happening from your 5th house. So Pluto moving through your 5th house is asking for a transformation of so much regarding your creative drive. And we're going to talk about that in the video, but just know that you're going to be feeling this kind of tension as soon as Mars moves into this part of your chart. The other thing I want to mention is that Mars was in the first 6 degrees of Leo from November 3rd to January 6th. So in the beginning of this transit, you may be seeing things come back up that you wanted to take action towards, but you didn't. You may be taking action towards them now, or they could be coming up to be redirected or a pivot or something like that. But just keeping an eye out for that to see how that cycle is tracking for you in your life. Libras, let me know how that resonates for you. I'll see you guys next time. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. Well, Mars rules your guys' 6th and 1st house, and it's moving into your 10th house. Whenever Mars moves into the 10th house, there could be an emphasis on your public life, your public status. This could be like you went from unemployed to employed, you go from single to married, things like that. Specifically because it's your 1st house ruler going into the 10th, I feel like something is being made public about you. Generally, we choose this, but we don't always have to choose this. And the 6th house ruler moving into the 10th could also be public conflicts as well, or conflicts in the workplace that are coming up for you to see them and yeah, this could also be like health issues coming up. And the thing is like, if any of these things are coming up, it is definitely a part of a transformational process for you guys, right? Because you guys are ruled by Mars. And so your first house ruler going into the 10th, and really just you guys being Scorpios, being the sign of transformation, there is transformation wanting to happen for you guys. And it's happening through some sort of public move, some sort of public status, something about your reputation, something about your career. Mars has been in Cancer, which has been a little bit, it's been a little bit easier to you because it's been a trine and it's been in your 9th house, right? So we've talked about a lot. I have a video about Mars in Cancer, but now Mars is going to be in a more awkward position, right? Like now it's squaring your sun, which means that it might feel a little bit more harsh, specifically because your other ruler, Pluto, is going to be in your 4th, opposing this almost immediately. Now I'm going to do a whole video on Pluto-Mars opposition, so we're going to talk about that more in depth. But I think for you guys specifically, because these are both your rulers, you guys feel this more than anybody else. And it's in the angular part of your house, of your chart, right? So big changes happening within your home life and your internal world, big changes happening within your career. Now, you're gonna feel like you have more control over your career than your internal private life during this time. So take some action, like that's what I would say. Keep it moving, keep your body moving. This is your first house ruler. And then because it's your 6th house ruler moving into the 10th, you could be like working really hard towards establishing some sort of career field during this time, or some sort of career or reputation during this time. And I think that if you focus your attention as much as you can on that, rather than the conflicts that may be coming up, that will be the best thing for you guys right now. Now, I also want to mention Mars was in Leo for a little bit from November 3rd to January 6th. And for the first couple of weeks, you might feel, or you might see certain things come up from around then that you wanted to take action toward, that you didn't feel like you could take action toward. You may be taking action towards them now, or maybe you did take action and you're pivoting now, but it's just an important thing to realize. So Scorpios, let me know what you guys are planning with your 10th house things. Are you guys wanting to make moves in your career, in your public life, in your reputation? Are there changes happening within work? Is your boss leaving? With Mars here, because it's willpower, I feel like a lot of times it is like, it could be that your boss is like being very Martian, but a lot of times I feel like you're making changes in this part of your chart. And so I want to hear what you guys are up to and what you guys are working on. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Okay, so for my Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Mars is moving into your 9th house. Now, Mars rules your 5th and 12th house naturally. So moving into your 9th, which is a house of philosophy, higher education, spirituality, faith. This is a house of your belief systems, publication, teaching, expanding your horizons, long distance travel. There's a lot that goes into this house. This is where we find truth and meaning in the world and our purpose too, because it's a dharmic house. So this could be that you're really intrigued with like finding some sort of meaning in whatever maybe you were going through with Mars in the 8th house. A lot of transformation there, which is where you had Mars on and off for very long time, since September of last year, and where it's now moving away from. You could have really been digging deep into psychological healing, releasing addictions and addictive patterns. And now, even though Mars rules your 12th and 5th house, now it's moving into a fire sign. So it's much easier for you guys to deal with another fire sign is trying you. It's about things that you really care about finding like, the 9th house themes are your house's themes, right? Sagittarius, Jupiter rules over the 9th house, Sagittarius does. So all of these things are very important to you, your philosophy on life, your belief systems. Mars is now giving this oomph to that. And for you, it could be that you're desiring to, like I could see this for a lot of Sagittarius people, like publishing your creative work. So whether that's publishing it online, publishing literary work, publishing, artistic work, it's something about like showcasing your talents and putting it out there in a very formative way. And it could also be like you are seeking mentorship or you are desiring to become a mentor or a teacher in something. And it could be something creative that you're wanting to teach, or spiritual, because you've got your 12th house ruler moving into your 9th house. So, you know, you may be kind of also feeling like you're going on this like quest for meaning, because there is the 12th house indicator there. So like you may be finding that you are, even though the 9th house is a fire house that you are comfortable in, there is a sense of like, even if you're traveling, it's to find meaning and purpose, or it's for a reason bigger than the travel itself. It's about expanding your consciousness, learning about something. There is a sense that like you're finding a sort of spiritual truth in this exploration of the 9th house. Now, I'm going to make a whole video about this, but Mars and Pluto will be opposing from your 9th and your 3rd almost immediately. I mean, pretty much as soon as Mars moves here. Like I said, I'll talk about it more in depth, but recognize that there is going to be this tension once Mars moves into Leo from Pluto in your 3rd house. So there could be like opposition or challenges from your immediate environment, or feeling like you don't have the skills in order to teach, or needing to, you know, it's shown to you that you need to gain more skills in order to go further or something like that. We'll talk about all of that, but I just want to bring that up so you know that there is this tension that could be coming up for you guys. I also want to talk about how Mars was in this part of your chart already from November 3rd to January 6th. Recently. And so something around then could be coming up in the weeks that follow Mars moving into Leo that maybe you wanted to take action on then, but you couldn't, or you need to pivot from that. And now you're getting a chance to kind of redo that, or to just have it come up to be seen again. All right, Sagittarius, let me know how this resonates for you guys down in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. For my Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Mars rules your guys' 4th and 11th house, and he's moving out of your 7th into your 8th. So Mars has been in your 7th house of Cancer on and off since September of last year. And Mars being in direct opposition to you could have brought a lot of challenges through connecting with other people. If you didn't have the challenges come through other people, it could mean that your partner or other people in your life were really acting Martian. So they were getting more assertive, possibly more aggressive, desiring more independence, and maybe this was having to kind of, or pushing you to do that same thing as well. And maybe this was having you have to contend with a lot of really deep emotional patterns, maybe from childhood or ancestral trauma, or just some inner emotional networks that you had to kind of change because someone was challenging you in some way. Now, Mars is moving, and I have a video about Mars in Cancer, so if you guys want more information on that. Mars moving into your 8th house changes it a little bit. Now, the 8th house is a house of transformation. It's a house of addictions. It's a house of psychological healing. It's a house of the occult and mysticism, psychology, shared resources, the give and take in relationships energetically, intimacy, deep intimacy. So a lot of the things that happen with 8th house, if it's not personal, like our personal psychology, healing addictions, they tend to happen within really close business partnerships or really intimate partnerships, so like marriage partners or long-term partners, because it's that like really that level of depth emotionally and intimacy with another. So Mars moving into your 8th, which by the way, it's been here before from November 3rd to January 6th. So similar themes could be coming up. For you guys, I just sense like this gives you so much inner courage to break addictive patterns and to move towards healing. You may be investing more into your psychological healing during this time because Mars rules your 4th house and it's now moving into your 8th, which both of those are very emotional, watery houses. So you could be getting some therapy, you could be just deciding to delve inward, journaling, meditation, mentorship, something like that. But it's more regarding the emotions and emotional cycles and addiction and breaking addictive patterns if you need to. But this could also be changing, and transforming your will. Quite honestly, it could be transforming how you really take action from a very deep place in you And also it could be changing organizations that you interact with. It could be changing friend groups, online communities, or communities and clubs. Your social networks could be going through a transformation during this time because your 11th house ruler is moving into your 8th. But whenever I think of Mars in the 8th for Capricorn, I just think of this like really, this like building of this courage that comes from a really, really deep space. And because it's Mars and we're asserting ourselves, it's like you're moving and taking action to release past patterns and transform, whether in relationships, in shared resources, or in just your psychological healing, in really powerful ways. So what I see you guys doing during this time is taking action on looking at your finances and possibly like shared resources and how to, things may be changing there. You may be taking action towards that. You may be desiring to like use other people's money. So like this is a house where you can take loans out in order to do something. But like on a deeper level, I just feel like it's for you guys about this like deep transformation and you getting the courage to make that transformation happen. Now, almost immediately when Mars moves here, it's gonna start opposing Pluto, who is in your 2nd house. So once again, this is very much could be about money for you guys and how you make money. And I'm gonna do a whole video on Mars-Pluto opposition, so don't worry about that. But I just want you guys to be aware there might be some tension there around your money, other people's money, your values, other people's values, your self-worth, and how much you give and take in partnerships, things like that. So Capricorns, what is going on for you guys? What are you planning on moving towards? What are you planning on severing if you need to in this part of your chart? I'd love to hear from you guys down below. I'll see you next time. For my Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Mars for you guys rules your 3rd and 10th house, and he's moving into your 7th. Now, specifically for you guys, I'm gonna do a video on this, so no worries, but I just want to bring this up for you guys because Pluto's in your 1st, Mars is going to go in your 7th, creating this opposition almost immediately. And so you're going to probably feel that pretty intensely. The people in your life could be feeling very Martian to you during this transit. They could be asserting their independence, asserting their will and dominance. And that could be kind of coming up against your desire for power or control of the situation. You may be having to let go of certain friendships. You may also be having to let go of, certain ways of relating to people because of the way that other people are showing up into your life, right? Now for you guys specifically, because Mars rules your 3rd and your 10th, this could be like something around your career. You're having to, the 7th house is also a house of like contracts and open enemies. So there may be like some sort of I don't want to say like litigation, because that's more like 6th house things, which Mars has been in your 6th house for a very long time. So maybe you are in litigation, but that's obviously going to be embroiled in like some sort of conflict. But that's also going to be a very small subset of you guys. But this could be like having to go to court or something around work and having to deal with people at work. Like maybe this is, this domination is coming through with relationships at work and it's kind of like butting heads there. You could also just be like thinking more about your relationships and how you relate to other people. And if you are wanting to change the way that you speak to others, how you communicate to others, one-on-one, and like really thinking about like how you come across. And obviously how we come across is somewhat out of our control, but you can move with intention and take action towards those things. With Pluto there, this is something that you guys are really diving deep into over the next like 19 years. So no rush there, but when Mars goes into your 7th and directly opposes it, it's gonna definitely like bring those themes up for you. Now, Mars was already here in this part of your chart from November 3rd to January 6th. So you may have some themes come up from back then, or similar situations come up from back then, in which you wanted to take action towards something. So maybe you want to take action towards moving somewhere with a relationship or cutting certain relationships out, and you couldn't because Mars backtracked, and now you're going to do that, or you're going to go ahead and move forward now with it. or maybe you're moving forward with it in a different way. Now, I want to also mention for you guys, Mars was in Cancer for quite a while. You're going to have Jupiter in your 6th house. So whatever themes you had, I had a video on Mars in Cancer. I would say listen to that video if you need to kind of, refresh your memory of what that transit's been about, because Jupiter's going to go there for a year starting June. And so it's going to expand upon kind of what you've created in that 6th house. So just a good thing to check in with before moving forward. So Aquarius, let me know how this resonates. I'll see you guys next time. For my Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Mars rules your guys' 2nd and 9th house, and it's moving into your 6th house. Well, what is the 6th house? The house, well, I'll tell you this, Mars isn't his joy in the 6th house because Mars likes to fight. And this doesn't mean conflict necessarily, although the 6th house is a house of conflict and inequality and adversities. But it's a house of challenges, and Mars thrives on challenge. So I see this for you guys. Well, let's just talk about the 6th house a little bit. So the 6th house, like I said, is those things. It's also your daily responsibilities. It's your health and illness. It's your diet, pets, work, and work environment as well. So Mars coming here could have you wanting to change your work environment, your daily responsibilities. You're wanting to take more action here, assert yourself more in this situation. But also you may be coming up against some challenges, whether that's in health or work or just in life. And for you guys, I could see this being financial because Mars is your 2nd house ruler, and your beliefs coming into question in some way, whether that's through outward conflict or inner conflict. But regardless, these challenges are here to strengthen you. And with all this stuff happening in North Node in your 1st house, I feel like this is a very necessary part of your process in order to gain the strength to move forward with whatever you guys are creating in the world. Now, Mars was here from November to January, November 3rd to January 6th. So things from around that time could be coming back up to be dealt with again, or maybe you started something and you have to pivot, or maybe you wanted to start something and then Mars backtracked into your 5th and you have to go back into your creative flow before you could move forward with any changes in work or health or whatever. And now you're getting an opportunity to do that again. Now, almost immediately, Mars is going to be opposed by Pluto in your 12th. Now, I'm going to do a video on Mars and Pluto opposition, so we'll dive deeper into that. But just know that almost immediately, there is going to be this tension between your subconscious and what you're trying to create out in the world. And it's okay. Like, this challenge is going to make you stronger. I feel like the word I keep hearing is that Mars is going to toughen you up. Now, I don't think Pisces are soft. I've talked about this before with my New Moon and Pisces video. I think they have a real strength in their softness, but I think that this is gonna have you pushing through some sort of adversity that is going to really strengthen your resolve towards getting somewhere with finances or with travel or publishing something, because Mars rules your 9th house as well. So it could be that like you're really wanting to teach or something, but you're having challenges, or, if you're wanting to teach actually and moving, your 9th house ruler going into your 6th house, you could be working towards that. Mars ultimately in the 6th house is a hard worker. So challenges feel good to it. So you're going to be working hard during this time towards something. And it could be for financial stability, or it could be because you want to teach, you want to travel, you want to, become a mentor or gain mentorship in some ways, and this is causing you to have to work really hard. But ultimately, I feel like this is going to be really good for you guys. I also want to mention that Jupiter will be going into the same part of your chart that Mars was just in for a very long time. So reflecting upon what changes you made in your 5th house, and I have a video about Mars in Cancer, so make sure, if you need a refresh, you can listen to that to see kind of what that was doing for you. It's going to really be expanded upon with Jupiter moving into this part of your chart starting June for a year. So before we move fully into this new space with Mars in your 6th house, make sure you take some time to reflect upon what changes you've made, what you've released, what you have worked upon with your creative endeavors, your romantic life, your pleasure, joy, entertainment. And speaking of that, I do want to also mention that like Mars does also sever. So you might find in the next 2 months, you're severing some sort of a diet. You're severing some sort of a illness. Like that would be amazing, right? That's like something that Mars would love to do. Work towards like health challenges, if you have any, to heal them. And you've got Pluto in the 12th. A lot of healing available to you during this time. Mars moving into the 6th could also be you getting rid of challenges and adversities and conflict and any litigation or anything like that, or getting rid of debt as well. This is a great time to get rid of debt. Getting rid of ultimately some sort of work as well could be a thing. If it's not financially helping you out or it's not fitting in with your belief systems, it may be time for it to go. So Pisces, let me know how this resonates for you guys. I will see you guys next time.